Now, just when we thought the stakes can't get any higher, DLSU forces a do-or-die Game 3 against UP. Let's break down Game 2 with UAP analyst Jarrell Lim, who's with Boom Gonzalez over there.
There's the extra energy from Paulo Del Rosario after the DLSU win. Jarrell, good to see you again, my man. Welcome back to the show.
It's good to be back.
Okay, parang mirror image yung nangyari.
Yeah.
Game 1 and Game 2, baliktaran lang in terms of. You can talk about the numbers, the way the game was played, the defense, the offense. So let's talk about the numbers first. Tell us what you saw. Tell me what popped out and explain to me game number 2.
That's right. I mean, we were really caught off guard. All of us were really expecting a grinded out Game 2. But to our surprise, it went the opposite way, right? And just to quickly go through the numbers, DLSU hit only 2 3-pointers back in Game 1.
Out of 23 attempts.
Out of 23.
Right.
But this time around, they hit 12. And in contrary, UP Fighting Maroons hit 9 in Game 1. But this time around, just 2 for 19.
Yeah.
So that was one of the bigger factors. But aside from that, it's the rebounding numbers. Game 1, UP dominated the rebounding game. They had more offensive rebounds. They showed that they really wanted it more. They had one of the key stats there is the second chance points.
Correct.
They had a lot more compared to the Green Archers. But this time around, it's the complete opposite.
Yep.
Just like the 3-point made.
Right.
The Green Archers had 58 rebounds, and while the UP Fighting Maroons just had 46. So those two were the biggest stat line that made the biggest difference in that game.
If I'm not mistaken, 55 rebounds ang UP in game number 1, 41 rebounds ang DLSU. And the funny thing was the first quarter ended with almost the same score.
Right.
27-24, 28-24 yata yung game number 1, right? And then second and third quarter, just a drop by UP compared to the drop
in the Game 1.
Parang these two schools, mag-usap muna tayo, gawin natin Game 1, Game 2, ganito. Okay. So, series is tied, 1-1. That is the team overall picture that you just gave us. Tell us about players who stood out and how did they stand out?
Right. I mean, 2 key players for the Green Archers. It was Francis Escandor and Joshua David. I mean, one hell of a ball game for these two. They both hit 4 3-pointers at a really, really high clip. 4 out of 5 for Francis Escandor, 4 out of 6 for Joshua David, and they were both plus 19 when it comes to efficiency. So they really stepped up big for Coach Topex.
Okay, it's one thing to make the shots, and sometimes you're hot, sometimes you're not. But was it intentional though, Jarrell? Was it off a particular offense that you saw, or was it on broken plays? Right. Tell me what you saw in game number 2.
So back in Game 1, I noticed how the Green Archers kept wanting to push the ball, look for their fast break plays. But in game number 2, they really slowed the ball down. They crossed the half court, and Evan Nelly and Joshua David would just pull back and set up their offense, go to their secondary offense, and that's where they hit their 3-pointers. So something I also noticed is how confident that Francis Escandor and Joshua David took those shots. So we can assume that Coach Topex really encouraged them to take those shots. Don't hesitate, just trust in it and just take it.
I said it on the air, and it's very tough. You're doing the game, it's different from watching a game, right? So when you're doing the game, completely different things going on in your head and in front of your eyes also, because you're looking differently at different things that are happening all over the court. And I thought that LaSalle got into their offense faster, and whether it was from a team standpoint, but even individually, I kept saying, KQ did not wait, he did not jab, there were no jab stepping, they just went and did their thing, and these guys, among others, benefited from a lot of those passes. Right. Did you see the same thing, or was I imagining all of this, Jarrell?
That's on point, Boom. Really, there weren't any hesitations at all. I felt like back in Game 1, they were like second guessing what they were doing. Maybe they had the jitters back in Game 1, but this time around, they really regrouped and they were much more confident.
All right, and then Mike Phillips, who was incredible in game number 1, started off with the same energy. In game 2, he kept attacking, but then he had a little help from Kuya Ben today or yesterday. Not much in terms of the minutes, but tell me what you saw from the brothers.
These two brothers really set the tone for the Green Archers. They brought in the energy that they needed. I mean, Mike Phillips back in game 1, he had one hell of a game, but it was his Kuya Ben this time around. He didn't play much back in game 1, around 2 minutes, and he's not even part of the rotation of Coach Topex for the most part. But when Coach Topics called him and he really delivered for them. He had 3 offensive rebounds that were big.
Yes.
And he may not have the numbers, just 2 points, 4 rebounds, but it's the energy, the way he doubled the ball screens, the way he dove for the ball.
Right.
It's really the energy he brought in.
And the 2 points was that layup from a great Evanelli pass.
Right.
The dive that he made was really crucial. All right, that's all LaSalle.
Yep.
Now let's shift our attention to UP. Sabi natin, parang it just flipped the script. The 2 guys or some guys who did very well in game number 1 had a tough time in game number 2. Who did you look at for game number 2?
So the first guy was Aldous Terculas.
Okay.
Back in game 1, he was the spark plug for the Fighting Maroons. He had 9 points, 10 rebounds. But he tried to do the same in game 2, but wasn't as efficient compared to game 1. He only had 4.6 rebounds, but more than that, minus 19 in terms of efficiency. So I felt like he wasn't able to level up to the energy that Kuya Ben and Mike Phillips brought in game 2.
All right, interesting. And then the other guy is a veteran. That's a first-timer. Jerry Abadiano has been part of this 3-year championship run, and you wanted to highlight this, Jerry.
Jerry Abadiano was a guy who really stepped up big for Coach Gold this season, and he did the same in game 1, 10 points, 3 steals, and plus 15. But this time around, he was still looking for his shots, but it may be a little bit forced sometimes, and he wasn't making it. So he only had 3 points and 1 steal, minus 8 during the time he was on the floor. Not as efficient compared to his game 1.
The disruptive defense of UP in game number 1 was mirrored by that disruptive defense of De La Salle from the start of game number 2. Okay, I'm going to close this. I'm going to ask you, what is your prediction? Not in terms of who's going to win, but how is this game 3 going to go? We've had 2 blowouts, Jarrell, but exciting blowouts.
Exciting ones.
Yes.
So game 3 is definitely going to be exciting. It's anyone's ball game, and I think it will go down to 2 things. So one is how each team will execute and run their plays to perfection, and the next thing is who from their bench will step up big in game 3. Because as we know, in game 1, you had Aldous Terculas, you had Jerry Abadiano. For game 2, you had Francis Escandor and Joshua David. And we know that the main guys, Evanelli, KQ, Cancino, Malik Diouf, they're all going to step up big.
Right.
But this time around, the question is, who will step up from their other squad, from their other platoon in game 3?
It's going to be a blockbuster. Game number 3, Paolo.
You have no idea how excited I am for this one. Incredible occasion that's going to be. And all of that's going to happen very, very soon. Again, thank you very much, Jarrell.
How much do we love Pinoy sports? With all our heart, all the time. Download Pilipinas Live now.